Credit cards can be one of the most powerful tools within the personal finance space if used correctly. And if you're someone who has a ton of spend upcoming for whatever reason, or you're just naturally a high spender, these are one of, if not the only tool that you can use to take advantage of all those expenses and turn those into free vacations. And that's exactly what I did shortly after getting engaged in 2024. Knowing that we were soon to be married, we would have a ton of expenses upcoming and probably would never be spending as much money as we did in 2025 for the rest of our lives. So I wanted a tool at my disposal to be able to utilize and take advantage of all that spend that we were doing. So in this video, I want to share with you guys the framework or the strategies that I was using to be able to build out an entire credit card roadmap based all around our different wedding vendors and the timing of those payments, and how I ended up turning that into over 2 million credit card points and miles, which I just used to book a $30,000 honeymoon for nearly free. I'll share with you guys the 7 key things that I learned through my own experience with credit cards in a little over a year and a half or so, and how we ended up accomplishing our goal of being able to take a trip that we would never otherwise be able to afford just paying cash. Number 1 is going to be laying the groundwork for whatever high spend situation that you're in. Again, my experience was with a wedding that was definitely very costly, but worth it in the end for how beautiful it ended up being. So shout out to my wife for planning all of that. But you may be looking at maybe furnishing your home, or maybe you're looking to purchase your first home, or you're just a natural high spender and really wouldn't struggle to hit any sign-up bonuses on a monthly basis. This is going to be the most important step that you're going to take, is putting everything down on paper. I like to use Excel, and really laying out exactly how much you're planning on spending and also where that money is coming from. But something that you should consider if you're drawing money from, say, your parents for your own wedding, is to hopefully, if they're willing to do so, have them transfer that money into your account, so it's just more dollars that you can actually put to use. Not only should you know how much you're going to be spending, but you should also get a firm understanding of when those dollars are going to be spent. So again, sticking with my own experience with a wedding, what vendors were going to be charging us and what increments throughout the next calendar year or so gives you sort of some place to start when it comes to when you should exactly be applying for credit cards. You should be basing a lot of those applications just prior to when these different charges will hit, so that you can use that spend to end up, say, hitting a sign-up bonus, but more on that a little bit later. Another thing to consider when you're just getting started is, 1, if you have a play or two, and also if that person is going to be willing to apply for at least some credit cards. For any couples watching this, using this as a framework for their own wedding credit card strategy, this is a key point if you're someone that's going to be looking to buy a house immediately following your wedding. You want to make sure that your credit scores are both in a very good spot, so that you can get the most competitive interest rates when it comes to applying for a mortgage or a different loan. Through my experience, I did figure out a couple ways, and this is huge if you are in 2-player mode like I am in this credit card game, is you can actually sort of pool or share your points with both Chase and American Express. With Chase, as long as you're living under the same address, you just simply need to call the number on the back of your card, share the card information from the person that is living in the same location that you are, and then you have the ability to transfer between your Ultimate Rewards accounts. And on the Amex side, I'm an authorized user on her American Express Gold card. As long as you're set up as an authorized user for more than 90 days, she can actually transfer the membership rewards points in her account over to my Marriott Bonvoy account under my name. As you're laying this foundational understanding of the credit card game, another thing that you should really spend a lot of time learning all about is the different application rules across all the different credit card lenders, or at least the ones that you're looking to apply for cards from. So of course, the 2 most popular that you'll probably hear a ton about here on YouTube is the Chase 524 rule, the American Express 5 card limit. But even within the lender rules, there's also limitations on which cards that you're eligible to receive welcome offers for within each of those card ecosystems. On the American Express side, that 5 card limit only allows you to hold 5 different American Express credit cards at one time. That does not include their charge cards like the green, gold, and platinum, but there are some limitations with family language that you need to consider as well. So with those charge cards, they have family language associated, which will lock you out of different sign-up bonuses. So let's say, for example, you go for the Amex Platinum card first, you will not be eligible to receive a sign-up bonus on the gold or the green card. Then on the Chase side, again, the 524 rule, very simple. I'm sure you may have even heard about this before. Only allowed to be approved for a Chase credit card if you've added 4 or less cards within the last 24 months. So if you're at or above 524, you will instantly be denied from Chase. So those are just two examples from two of maybe the most popular credit card lenders out there. Each lender that you want to apply for cards from, spend the time, understand all the different in-depth rules. And while some of them may seem similar between the different lenders, the wording or verbiage that they're using can oftentimes be very specific. So just make sure that you're putting in the time to do that research. Another thing that was a huge eye opener for me was understanding business credit cards and your eligibility to actually apply and also get approved for them. Now, a common misconception is that you need an actual brick and mortar storefront to be able to use an EIN number, which is essentially a social security number for a business to be able to get approved for business cards. But you can actually apply as a sole proprietor, like I did for this YouTube channel, using just your social security number, get approved for business cards. And the reason that they're so attractive is for the best in class welcome offers that they typically have when compared to personal cards. So make sure that if you have any form of a business, or even if you're thinking of starting a business that will eventually earn you revenue, you may be eligible to go out and apply for business cards. Just note that putting personal spend on business cards is technically against the terms from most, if not all, lenders that do offer those business cards. So it's really up to you with how much risk that you're willing to take if you do want to put some personal spend on those cards. It's not recommended, and it is technically a violation of those terms. So there's a ton that I could put into this first section alone. I think the moral of the story here is to just spend a ton of time, as much as you can, researching and getting as good of an understanding about all aspects of this game as you can. But the other thing I really wanted to highlight, something that will eventually drive really all the decisions you're going to make when it comes to which credit cards you want to apply for, is understanding all the different transfer partners and loyalty programs and which of those are associated with all the different credit card lenders and which point currencies can be transferred over to the brands that you love. Now, this is all really just about personal preference and bias on which brands that you prefer to travel with on both the hotel and airline side. And just being willing to admit what those are will only end up helping you out. And I think that that's more than okay to have those different biases within either airline or hotel programs. Taking a look at the transfer partner list on the screen that you can see here just gives you a sense of almost how overwhelming it is, all the different brands that you could fly or stay in hotels with. And as you start to narrow this down and look at partners that can actually be transferred to from the different credit card lenders' point currencies, this will start to help you narrow down which of the currencies that you really want to target. So take, for example, the Marriott Bonvoy program. Now, when it comes to hotels and resorts that we prefer to stay at when we travel, we are very much biased towards Marriott. We think that they offer the best-in-class service and also just the overall experience and cleanliness. This is one of the great examples as to why we applied for so many American Express and Chase cards over the last year and a half. Now, when it comes to why it's so important to have multiple point currencies and point diversification, we call it, is to have more eligibility for different transfer bonuses. So throughout any given calendar year, different lenders will actually offer bonuses like the one that was just going on from American Express membership awards with a 30% boost to the points that you were sending over to the Marriott Bonvoy program. So if, for example, I wanted to book a Marriott hotel that cost 130,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, I would only have to transfer over from my Amex account 100,000 membership rewards points. That 30% boost would be applied, and then we would end up essentially saving 30,000 points in the long run. I think the most important thing is to have, like I said, multiple point currencies to be able to really take advantage of as many transfer bonuses as you can throughout the year. Now, that leads me perfectly into my number 2 takeaway, which is getting a full understanding of all the different flexible point currencies and also all the different co-branded credit cards. So once you're able to admit your own preferences when traveling, that will, as you can tell, drive which different co-branded credit cards and also which flexible point currencies that you're going to want to earn in. Even if you're not sure exactly what those are, I think there's nothing wrong with having multiple point currencies and you're not as loyal to a brand like we are with Marriott. Having access to, say, multiple hotel partners by having all Capital One, Citi, and also American Express membership rewards will just allow you, when actually making those redemptions, to be sure that you're getting the best value for your points if that's something that you're more concerned with than your overall travel experience with your own different brand preferences. So shifting over to the airline partner side of this, When looking at all the different airline transfer partners that are out there, you can see that these are actually broken down in this table by the different airline alliances. The reason I bring this up, and while it is maybe a little bit more complex, especially for beginners out there, this is something that I need to spend more time actually putting into practice. Let's say, for example, I wanted to book a Delta SkyMiles flight, but I was fresh out of American Express membership rewards points. There's no other point currency that can be transferred over to Delta SkyMiles. I could, let's say, if I have a big balance of Citi thank you points, I could actually transfer those in theory over to Virgin Atlantic to turn those into Flying Club miles. And then from the Virgin platform, actually end up booking Delta operated flights. So like I said, very complex. I don't want to claim to be an expert on this by any means, but you do have all those different options in here as well as you start to get a better understanding of all the different transfer partners and what exactly you can do with your points and miles. So I already covered why it's so important to diversify your points across multiple currencies, take advantage of those transfer bonuses, especially by holding multiple that can be transferred to overlapping partners like that Marriott Bonvoy example that I shared with you already. And I mentioned this before, but that's exactly why we added this co-branded credit card, the American Express Bonvoy Brilliant. Now, this is a great card, jam-packed with different credits and benefits. Main reason we added it is for the Platinum Elite status that this card comes with. We knew we'd be staying at multiple Ritz-Carlton properties for our honeymoon. I wanted that Platinum Elite status so that hopefully we could get upgraded. But we also knew at the time that we would be transferring a ton of points into my Marriott Bonvoy account. So why not add a card like this where it had a huge welcome offer of 185,000 points? And then with the remaining balance that we needed to actually make the booking, we used our flexible point currencies, a lot of those through different transfer bonuses, which I talked about. So we ended up saving a ton of points. Not only did we add the co-branded card with Marriott, but we also added 2 different Delta SkyMiles cards, knowing that we would be flying Delta for our honeymoon. Again, just a great way of starting to earn more of a balance in my Delta SkyMiles account before we were to transfer over all the points. So all the more reason for you to really understand not only which brands you prefer, but where eventually you will be transferring points to. I think it's a great way of adding at least some of these cards, mainly for the perks that you're going to be get when staying or flying with these different brands. But again, it's also just a great way of building up a balance before you have to transfer over these very valuable, flexible point currencies. As I mentioned a few times now, this is really all just coming down to personal preference and how exactly that you like to travel. I think the majority of the cards that you should hold and be spending on and earning welcome offers for should be these flexible point earning cards, but it's not a bad idea to add some co-branded cards that will earn in different points and miles that you know that you will end up using. There's some other things that you need to know about this game as well, like when transferring over flexible point currencies over to different airline partners, you will get charged out of pocket for taxes. So all the more reason for you to start to build up a balance with brands that you know that you'll use their miles. The next thing I wanted to highlight that you should be focusing on for your high spend strategy is all the different sign-up bonuses that are out there. Sign-up bonuses or welcome offers are going to be the most efficient way to earn points and miles in this game. This is really just the bank's way of luring you in to apply for some of these cards. They'll offer you a huge amount of incremental points after a certain amount of spend within the first, say, 3 to 6 months of actually applying and getting approved for the card. Once you've laid out that budget, when exactly you're going to be spending all your dollars throughout the next several months or several years, whatever your situation is, that's when you can start to look at all the different sign-up bonuses that are out there on credit cards. There's a ton of great resources out there, like the US Credit Card Guide, the Doctor of Credit, a ton of YouTube channels that are constantly giving you news about credit cards and what the best welcome offers are. That's exactly what I did with all of our wedding expenses. So I had almost down to the dollar exactly what we would be spending or what we got quoted from all of our different vendors, when they were going to be charging us, which you can find in their contracts or whatever you end up signing. Then what I did was I actually put a column right next to it, which card we wanted to apply for. Let's say we were going to be spending $15,000. I could actually break up that charge among 2 different credit cards to hit 2 different sign-up bonuses in just one day. This can be a very time-consuming part of your overall high-spend strategy, but it's so important to understand when exactly those charges are hitting and the different dollar amounts, because that will drive when you want to go out and apply for credit cards. The next key takeaway that I wanted to cover is very quick, but it is extremely important to understand, and that is your own spending habits. So once you've put in the time, done all the research on all the different sign-up bonuses and exactly when you're going to be applying for those different cards, considering what your spending habits are, where you're spending your dollars from just your organic spend. So take this high spend, whatever your situation is, and sort of put that to the side on a monthly basis. Let's say if you're not getting married, what would you normally spend on, say, dining, groceries, streaming services, gas, transit, hotels, airline flights? Wherever you're spending your dollars is what should drive at least some of your credit card application decisions. For example, and I don't keep meaning to just use American Express as the example here, but let's say on the American Express personal platinum card, American Express sends you a letter that is telling you you're eligible to receive a 175,000 membership reward point sign-up bonus. It may seem attractive at first, but if you're someone that spends a ton on dining and groceries, like my wife and I do, then you're going to want to say, hold off, even though it is a very attractive welcome offer, and get the American Express Gold card first. Make sure that you're eligible to receive that sign-up bonus, because again, those cards have that family language. Then maybe in the next 90 days or so, then you can go out and apply for the American Express Platinum card. Doing it that way will not only ensure that you're getting the most amount of points across multiple cards, but it's also giving you a card in the Amex Gold, if you can use some of the credits, that you're going to keep well past just this high spend period. So considering that family language, again, the American Express 5-card limit, the Chase 524 rule, taking all of that into account to make sure that you're not going to be locking yourself out of cards that you know will be keepers for you, cards that you can see yourself wanting in the future. Making sure that you're not just going all in on the sign-up bonuses, I think is very important as well. So you need to consider sort of the long-term impact of whatever cards that you're going out and applying for will have on, say, your credit card strategy in the years upcoming. Going hand in hand with understanding your own spending habits, the fifth takeaway that I have that I want you guys to really spend a lot of time on is understanding all the different card benefits and credits. I guess I take back what I said before when talking about the sign-up bonuses and all the time that takes to really get a firm understanding of those. Diving into each individual credit card, or at least all the cards from the lenders that you prefer, can be extremely time consuming, especially given all the changes that have gone on in just 2025. So you can see here, I don't actually hold the Chase Sapphire Reserve, but I've actually already gone into my tool with this card to calculate my own effective annual fee, taking a look at all the credits on this card. What do I think that I could actually use if I were to go out and apply for this card, and seeing what that nets me in terms of a dollar value? So like I said, this is a $795 card. Now, I truly do think that I could actually get positive value of $180 just from the credits that are on this card. So this is a card that I could actually go out and apply for, hit, say, an elevated sign-up bonus, and then also be holding it for multiple years as long as I'm still able to use all the credits and benefits and all the things that are getting me that positive value. These are the cards that you're really going to want to look at, the ones with the highest welcome offers that you can actually use some of these different credits on. So since you've already got all the, say, highest welcome offers that are out there, point currencies that you know you want to earn in, you've got those all laid out next to all the different charges that you have upcoming. You've taken into account all your spending habits. You've started to look at some of these cards that you know that will actually give you positive value, whether it's a no annual fee card or a card, again, like the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Having those now cross-referenced and sort of looking at, all right, so what are actually going to be the cards that I'm going to keep past just this high spend period that we're in right now. The sixth key consideration when building out a high spend credit card strategy is understanding all the different vendors and also how they will end up coding on your credit card statements. Sticking with the example of our wedding, we ended up getting married at a small boutique hotel in upstate New York that we were fairly confident would code as a hotel or at least travel. But there's a lot of different tools out there that you can use to get a firm understanding of exactly how it will end up coding on your credit card statement, so that hopefully you can start to apply for cards that also have a spending multiplier in those categories. The simplest way, of course, is just by calling up and asking them how they code on a typical credit card statement. If you're actually at a business, they do have to legally post their business license. Then you can take whatever their exact business name is listed and plug it into a merchant category code lookup. Now that sounds very complex, but in short, this is a tool that will just allow you to search different vendors and businesses, and it will actually show you all the cards that will earn with the highest spending multipliers. So here is that exact tool that I just referenced, and I'll definitely drop a link to this in the description of this video. So if you do want to check it out, it is a very helpful tool. So all these cards here, the Chase Sapphire Reserve and Reserve for Business, both earn 4x back on hotel bookings. The Citi Strata Premier earns 3x thank you points. Then the Chase Inc. Business Preferred has a 3x general travel category. So having said all that, while yes, it is ideal to have a card that has a sizable welcome offer with a spend multiplier that you're going to actually use to be able to hit that sign up bonus with, I think it's very sort of hard to find that perfect match. But in any case that you can, I think this is a very helpful tip that will allow you to just be able to earn even more points and miles. But I would say that the majority of the credit cards that we applied for and used our wedding spend to hit all those different sign-up bonuses, a lot of those were only earning 1x back, which may sound like you're sort of leaving some points on the table, but you consider, again, depending on the size of that welcome offer, all the value that you're getting from that huge influx of points is going to outweigh just the minimal amount of points that you would be getting by using a card that has more than a 1x multiplier. That is actually my advice here, is to not spend too much time looking for that perfect fit like I had with the Delta Platinum business card, but instead focus on cards that not only have welcome offers that you want to hit, but also those that have spending multipliers that work more for your organic monthly spending and not just whatever high spend situation that you're in right now. All right, so now that we've talked about everything I wanted to when it comes to what you should consider, especially if you're looking to use credit cards for your wedding payments or any high spend scenario, is actually starting to lay down in step number 7, the cards that you want to consider applying for. I think it's very important to have some form of a tool. Again, I prefer using Excel and laying everything out that way. Now, what you're seeing on the screen here is the credit card blueprint, something that I helped create alongside Spencer Johnson. Shout out to you, Spencer. This is a great tool that honestly I wish I had at the time when I was starting to build out my wedding credit card roadmap. But having something, even if it's not, maybe as fancy as this, having all the cards that you currently have, when you applied for those, having a list then of cards that you want to go out and apply for next, applying that date of when you want to apply, again, based on when your different payments will be hitting, and taking into account everything that we mentioned in this video, start to think through all the different options that are out there when it comes to cards that you should be considering applying for next, and start to build out not just a roadmap for this high spend strategy, but also have a plan for the cards that maybe you're just trying to hit a welcome offer for. Do you plan on canceling those? Again, going back to, say, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, if that was a card that had gotten refreshed before our wedding happened and was able to earn 4x back on hotels, I would have definitely gone out and applied. Being able to use that for all the wedding payments that we had to make directly to our venue would have been huge. And as you guys saw, it's a card that I can actually get positive value from. So it would have been great to have for this high spend strategy, but I would have had that plan put in place of, okay, this is a card that I'm going to keep for several years as long as there's not another major refresh. But if we wanted to earn in other currencies like Citi thank you points, the Citi Strata Premier would have been a great option, which earns 3x. Or on the Wells Fargo front, the Autograph Journey offers you actually 5x back on hotel bookings. But again, it's very difficult to find sort of that perfect match of huge, attractive sign-up bonus, spending multiplier that you're going to use to hit that sign-up bonus minimum spend. I think at the end of the day, something that everyone should consider in their high spend strategy is adding a catch-all credit card, which can give you anywhere from 2x to 1.5x back for all of your spending. So even if you're spending in some very niche categories, some of these catch-all cards can be very valuable with not only hitting their welcome offers, granted they're not as attractive as, the premium travel credit cards with the huge price tag, but in some cases you can earn a ton of additional points along the way just by holding one of these catch-all credit cards. So unless you're someone that is just naturally a high spender, maybe you're a high net worth individual, which in that case, if you're out there and you are actually taking advantage of credit cards, I can't even imagine what your point balances could potentially be. But if you're in a situation like I was with a wedding, you may never have another opportunity to earn this many points and miles in this short of amount of time. So make sure that you're spending as much time as you can on understanding all about credit cards, but also building out your total roadmap for not just this high spend period, but also really over the long term and next several years. A few other tips, or I guess honorable mentions that we can call them, is sometimes you may run into a vendor charging, say, a 2 or 3% credit card transaction fee. My honest advice, and hopefully you've heard this from other people as well, is to not really sweat that 2 or 3% fee. When you take into account all the points that you'll be earning by hitting that sign-up bonus and putting your spend through, that is going to heavily outweigh just that minimal 2 or 3% fee. Now, do I think in just your monthly spending, should you just be eating those fees? Absolutely not. It only really makes sense if you are out there chasing welcome offers. I would say as well that do not be scared of some of these higher annual fee cards. Just like I said, put the time in, do the work, take a look at all the different credits and benefits, see what you can truly get value from without changing any of your spending habits, and see what may make sense for you. You may find that in some cases, it may make sense to hold multiple of these. Another thing I wanted to mention is going back to business cards and really getting a full understanding of your eligibility for those. So the majority of business cards don't actually show up on your personal credit report. So there's really no negative to actually canceling these cards after just year one. So that's really all that I wanted to cover in this video. If you guys have made it to this point, you're a true journeyman and a hero. I really do appreciate you guys sticking around all the way to the end. That was a lot to cover all in one video, and I didn't really want to get into the nitty-gritty of exactly what we did and which card we applied for. I'll definitely be looking to do that in my 2025 recap, but I just wanted to lay out all the really framework and how you should be building out a high spend strategy. And I think this is certainly most applicable for anyone out there that's, going to be getting married, a ton of money going to be spent over the next year or so. This is exactly the system that I followed that allowed us to earn 2 million credit card points and miles and to be able to book that $30,000 honeymoon for just $1,000 in taxes and fees. Again, thank you so much if you guys did make it all the way to the end of the video. If you're still here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. A free way to help support the channel, help me reach my goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers. And if you want to see me break down some of the cards that I mentioned in this video in a bit more detail, or just learn more about the strategy that we followed over 2025, make sure you check out one of the videos that I'll leave on the screen here, and I'll see you guys over there. Thank you as always for watching. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.